Okay, the movie I chose was O Brother, Where Art Thou, which was directed by the Coen brothers. In the very first scene, you see limited space, where you can see a little bit in the background, but it's mostly blocked by the dog. And another interesting fact about this part of the scene is that it's all in a very confined space, a confined boxy space, and everything is very boxy except for the round pomade cans. The dog's head is very box-like. The opening, obviously, is also square. And the lens are actually pointing down at the Dapper Dan cans, which give a hint to the audience as to where the location of the sheriff is. Because George Clooney's character the whole time talks about wearing Dapper Dan in his hair. So it kind of gives the audience an idea of the bad guys might be ahead of the heroes. And then it cuts to our four main characters walking down a street. It's a wide shot, a four-person shot. It's deep space because you can see well behind them. And as they continue to talk and walk, tell them they're at the Happy Little Tire Swing, it cuts to the house, and then it pans over where there's a tree, and you expect to see a Happy Little Tire Swing, but in fact you see three nooses. And the nice thing about that is, well, not the nooses, but the lines that are shown. It actually points straight down at the graves of where they're going to be laid to rest, which I feel shows some great usage of lines. And then as it cuts to the sheriff is framed among the boxy house and the square frame, which leads the viewers to focus directly on him. And the camera movement back and forth is very intriguing because it gives the audience the idea of a heated discussion, and as they move the four characters closer to the tree, it's intriguing foreshadowing of the nooses behind their shoulders. As they try and plead their case, the four characters, you may notice, have square-like heads due to the hats. And that gives them a sense of being dominant, as well as the sheriff and everybody else, because it gives a view of square heads. But as the sheriff continues talking, and the news sinks in that the sheriff doesn't have a radio, therefore did not get the message that they have been pardoned, and they are in a situation of where they have no control. Their hats are removed, which gives them the appearance of having rounder heads, or weaker or submissive. And as the characters kneel down to pray, the camera zooms in on Clooney, or George Clooney, as he prays. And this gives the audience a sense of being close with George Clooney's character as he's praying for his daughters, wanting to see them, telling God to watch over his three friends. It really shows a change in character for George Clooney, because all through the movie he was very selfish, very concerned about himself, even lied about the treasure just so he could get out and prevent his wife from marrying someone. And this part of the scene shows a very selfless act of George Clooney's character, in which he cares about other people. Another thing that's interesting is as the camera zooms up, it makes George Clooney appear much smaller, thus giving the audience a sense of he feels really helpless, like there's nothing else he can do except just pray. And also the panning up of the camera could also be a reference of the prayers he's saying in order to rise to heaven. And as the water starts to come in, starts to seep in gradually, it gives a moving line towards the characters as if to give the impression that a change is about to come along. And as the camera starts zooming towards the sheriff, it gives the audience a sense of the water rushing in, and it engulfs everybody, and it turns everything from a warm brownish orange tinge to a blue tinge, which could also be could also signify a change in the character's personality from being self-centered and just caring about himself to caring about others and just essentially washing away everything. And another thing that's intriguing is the sound use in this, in which when everything goes underwater, the music becomes very echoed, like in a deep room or in deep water, where nothing else, where everything seems very echoish. And the movement in of the tire swing is also intriguing because it also could be a reference to the change in George Clooney's character's life from having a tree with a bunch of nooses in it to going back to the happy little tire swing. And when the main characters rise up from underwater and the coffin's coming up from being sunken underwater, the water rushing towards the coffin also offers a kind of a line, or to give the viewer an idea of the direction in which everything is flowing. And as the three main characters are talking, various debris is floating by in the background, gradually giving different depths of picture. Obviously, the three main characters are in the foreground, but tree limbs and debris are floating in the background, and even farther in the background are actually houses that are floating above the water, which is a very nice use of deep space, even if it is mostly just background and isn't really key to the whole story compared to what's going on with the three main characters. And as an interesting thing about the story is that as George Clooney's character is talking about how it was just the state using hydroelectric power, the sign where with the cow on a cotton hut comes along, and that shows and that's in reference to the very beginning where the fortune teller talks about how a change in George Clooney's character's life would be signified by that image.